Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Voices Beyond Borders, the final episode of Season 2. I just want to take a small minute to thank each and every single one of you, our listeners and our viewers, for your love, your encouragement, and your continuous support. None of this would have happened without you. None of this would have been a reality without your continuous support. So thank you for tuning in, week out to listen to our amazing guests, our amazing experts, and share their stories. Now, without any further ado, today I'm very happy and I'm honored to introduce you and to welcome Ambassador Mollen to our podcast. With a wealth of experience in diplomacy and international affairs, Ambassador Mollen has been at the forefront of dialogue, collaboration, and global change. Ambassador Mollen, it is an honor and a privilege to have you on our podcast. I am very excited for our conversation today that will really focus on two main themes that are close to our heart at Voices Beyond Borders, which are diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, and youth empowerment. Once again, Ambassador, thank you and welcome to Voices Beyond Borders.
Thank you very much, Francesco. Thank you for the invitation. For me, it's an honor to be here. I've heard a lot about your podcast, so I'm looking forward to this. And I have to admit that I didn't yet have the time to listen to the other episodes into season 1, but I hope I'll be able to do that soon. But it's great to be here.
Thank you so much, and we hope so as well. Ambassador, before we start with our hopefully not so long list of questions, I would actually love to know more about you. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience and our listeners and tell us a little bit about your role as the ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to Lebanon?
Sure. Let me see. I'm an old man to start off with. I have a family. I've lived with my wife in Beirut. We've been here since August. I have 4 children who are grown up, who all live abroad. As I said, been here since August, had previous postings all around the world, but my last 2 were as ambassador to Abu Dhabi and then to Tehran, to Iran. Here now, very much enjoying my posting in Lebanon, looking forward to working in Lebanon in the next few years. So I guess that's me in a nutshell. And I've been a diplomat, obviously, all my life as being the ambassador. And what does an ambassador do? We're here with an embassy of about 30 people here in Beirut. And an embassy is really a go-between, a trait d'union between 2 countries. So in our case, between the Netherlands and Lebanon, where we help, if you like, the Dutch and the Dutch government understand Lebanon and its needs better, and we help Lebanon understand Dutch needs and Dutch positions better as well. So that's really the basis of what an embassy does.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for this very brief introduction. I actually have a follow-up question to this. It's a little bit personal, but I would actually love to hear what drew you to this position. What drew you to work in politics and public diplomacy?
I think it's the love of the international, actually, that drew me to this work. The kind of work we do as diplomats is every 3-4 years we move, we go to a different country, different surroundings, different topics to work with. It's not only politics or DEI, it's also many other things. We do trade promotion, we do cultural, we do consular. So the embassy is a very broad platform. And it's just that diversity, which is a different kind of diversity than the diversity in DEI, but it's also a diversity. Working internationally, it's just great fun. And that's really what we do it.
Thank you, Ambassador. As everyone knows, and I'm pretty sure you also know, Ambassador, that at Voices Beyond Borders, we really focus a lot on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Personally, I consider it as a factor for us to move forward in life and to connect with others, no matter where we come from, no matter our situations or circumstances, to come together and actually work to better humanity. From your perspective, I would love to know, how does the Netherlands integrate DEI values into its foreign policies and global diplomacy efforts, especially in contexts or regions such as Lebanon?
Look, the many of the leading principles of the Netherlands in its international policy come from the time of the Enlightenment. And in the time of the Enlightenment, equality and diversity were very important. We've always been a trading nation. We're quite comparable to Lebanon in the sense that we're a small country with big neighbors. We've always had to trade, basically because our own country is too small to just survive in. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's in the general sense. And we've noticed, for example, in the period of the Enlightenment in the 17th, 18th centuries, we noticed that diverse, inclusive, equal society, because those were the days in Europe when you still had all the nobility that were really ruling many countries, except for in the Netherlands where the bourgeoisie was much more in power. And those were the days that the Netherlands really prospered all around the world. It's just to say that being diverse, promoting equality, promoting equality and integration, inclusivity, makes a country stronger, makes a society stronger. And that's why we believe so strongly in it. And I think, as I said, that guided us then and that still guides us now.
That's great to hear, actually. And I have to agree. Again, being from my own humble experience as an international student and being also in Lebanon, I really feel that when you're surrounded or when you're connected to individuals from different perspectives, lifestyle, different backgrounds, different nationalities, languages, you cannot help as a person but to grow your mindset and to look at the world in a completely new set of eyes. So it's something that is really powerful. And I really hope that people can really see how DEI or like diversity is something positive that we can leverage to our own benefit, and it's not something that can tear us down.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is very important.
Ambassador, since the Netherlands is a key player in the EU, how does it collaborate with the EU itself and other international organizations to promote DEI globally, especially in the area of the Middle East and Lebanon?
As I said before, both the Netherlands and Lebanon are we're not small countries, but we're not a major power. And if you want to be able to influence the world in ways that go above your own power, you have to do it together with others. And for the Netherlands, our most important ally, if you like, are the other European countries. Being a member of the European Union and its 27 member states makes us so much stronger than we could ever be on our own. That goes for every one of those 27 member states, by the way. Even the big ones, you're always stronger together than you are on your own. So that's why Europe is so important for us. And through Europe, where of course many of our values are shared, through Europe we try to promote our values but also our interests, to be very honest, in the rest of the world. The Middle East is, of course, a very important international, both political, economic, cultural, for want of a better word, theater. And Lebanon plays an important part in that. It's not always easy for Lebanon. We realize that very well. The current situation is, of course, very, very difficult and has been even more difficult. And we can better assist Lebanon. We do that bilaterally, but also by having the same policies as our other fellow countries in the EU. So together stronger is really the best way to summarize that.
Ambassador Mollen, can you tell us a little bit more about the projects that the Dutch Embassy currently is working on in Lebanon to help support or promote DEI?
Yeah, sure. We have a lot of projects in that field. What we do, for example, we support. We have projects that try to encourage gender equity, gender equality. We have projects that support victims of violence against women. We also, when it comes to DEI, that's a requirement that we have across the board in all our. So besides projects that specifically target certain areas like gender-based violence, like gender equality, like equality of LGBTIQ plus, we also make sure that all our projects conform to those standards. So in many different ways, we try to promote that. I find it a bit hard to give you very specific examples with names because sometimes local partners prefer not to be known that they are being supported by if you like, by foreign embassies.
Exactly.
But in many fields that are part of DEI, we try to help.
Thank you for that. And I'm pretty sure if our listeners and viewers are interested to know more about specific projects that you are working on, they can visit the Dutch Embassy's website.
Sure.
Everything is mentioned.
No, well, yes and no. For the same reason, it's not all on the website, but they can always get in touch with us.
Okay, perfect. That's good to know and to highlight as well. Ambassador, I'm pretty sure, especially being in Lebanon, you're facing a lot of challenges, not just implementing DEI projects, but projects in general, no matter the topic is. How do you overcome these challenges, especially in a country where the political and the security situation can change within hours, if not minutes?
Diplomacy is all about understanding your partners. And we consider Lebanon very much a partner. And of course, you're absolutely right. The cultural values and morals are not the same all over the world. And in the same way that we in, if you like, the West, if I can call it that, sometimes think that other parts of the world maybe get it a little bit wrong. Other parts of the world think that we in the West get it a little bit wrong. The values that we're talking about when we're talking about, for example, DEI, are mostly values that are not Western, but internationally recognized and laid down in international treaties. We think that gives us an extra strong basis to be able to promote those values, whether it's in projects or whether it's in our public diplomacy, in our social media, etc. But of course, you have to understand, so in our case, we have to understand how Lebanon thinks and why the Lebanese people think as they do, to be as convincing as possible. There's no point me coming out and saying things of which everybody here in Lebanon thinks, how can he say that that's crazy? Because then they're just going to look the other way. So the trick is to find common ground, and then from that common ground, go forward in little steps sometimes or in bigger steps and try to promote the values that we would like to promote. And usually, even just having a discussion about values can already be useful. We don't always have to agree. But if we can have that open discussion, that's very important. And I think that also contributes to mutual understanding also of those segments of society, also of Lebanese society, that we are perhaps trying to help sometimes. Making that accessible is because often discrimination, etc., also come from misunderstanding and lack of understanding, and that too we try to help.
I think you mentioned a very good point here that sometimes we don't have to agree to reach a common ground where we can at least see each other's different point of views and agree that, okay, although we disagree on certain topics, this is something we can agree on that can help us moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreeing to disagree is very important in diplomacy as well.
Yeah, 100%. Now I actually want to move to a topic that is very dear to my heart, which is the Youth Advisory Committee. The Youth Advisory Committee, which is I am a part of. Now, to our listeners and viewers, if you don't know what the YAC is, the YAC is a committee that was created as part of a global effort by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs to bring voices of young people, especially in Lebanon, into decision-making processes that shape policies and programs. Hello, everyone. I just want to take a minute to thank our funders, the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands, for their kind donation that helped make this season a reality. So the vision for this committee is actually all about empowering the youth all across Lebanon and provide us with a platform where we can share and contribute our ideas, our thoughts, our point of views, and make sure that the policies especially those targeting young people, are aligned with our needs and our aspirations. Now, Ambassador, regarding that, why did you, as an embassy and as the Netherlands in general, create or establish such a committee?
Look, Francesco, I think you've actually described it very well already. I don't need to add much to that. But as you already said, I know it's very obvious, but the youth are the future of our world. And at the same time, we in the Netherlands, and I don't think we've discovered something very special in the Netherlands. I think that's seen all over the world, that there's a huge gap between young people and the policymakers. There's sometimes a gap, sometimes larger, sometimes smaller, between young people and the labor market. There's a gap between young people and education, at least the education that is necessary. So I think you could pull that all together with the expression listening to young people and making young people heard, also within our own policies. And that's why we've set up, indeed, as you said, these youth advisory committees in many countries around the world, supported by the embassy, for ourselves to make the voices of young people better heard, but especially towards the country where they are based. So in our case, towards the Lebanese policymakers, Lebanese authorities, other Lebanese influencers, to make that voice of young people better heard, and also to help young people themselves, where necessary, to give them the tools to be better heard. And that's what those YACs indeed are for.
If I may say so myself, one, as a member of this committee, but also as a young person of Lebanon, thank you. Because okay, this is just one committee out of, let's say, tens of other committees in Lebanon, but at least it's a proper way for us where we can contribute, again, our thoughts, our point of views. But also it's a channel where we can meet other young people who are just as passionate, just as influenced to want to make a positive change in our community. And at least now we feel that we have a guided way where we can actually do that, where we can actually create this impact and this change that we are looking for in society. So again, thank you for that opportunity.
Well, thank you for participating.
It's my pleasure. Ambassador, I would love to hear from you. What role do you believe young people should play in Lebanon, especially shaping the new future of Lebanon? If I were to make it's a little bit more specific, maybe with the focus on areas such as governance, education, innovation, social change.
Yeah. I think there are two things that I would find very important. One, and that comes back to the youth advisory committees, is having the voice of young people heard more consistently throughout Lebanese society and with policymakers. But there's something else as well. Lebanon, and that's the beauty of Lebanon, is made up of, if I'm not mistaken, 16 different I don't know if, confessional or religious sects or whatever. Yes. I'm not quite sure about the word sex because it always sounds a little bit, at least to a Westerner, it sounds a little bit negative, but I mean it in a very, very positive way. And as I said, that's the beauty of Lebanon. Some people have said to me that's even the raison d'être, so the reason of the existence of Lebanon. Otherwise, there might not be a Lebanon. I don't know if that's the case, but it's beautiful. But at the same time, that is also something that really restricts, to my conviction. Oh, sorry, let me just turn this off.
That's okay.
That is also something that really restricts the modernization, especially of the Lebanese governing system. For example, the way appointments in high positions are made now, it has to be according to a certain division. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the people who are appointed are not competent experts. I think that we as international community, for example, feel that the new government is very much composed of competent ministers, even though there's also there a kind of division. But I think my personal opinion is that it would be very important for Lebanon to change towards a more purely merit-based system of appointments. And for that, the youth is very, very important, because that is something that I think has to come from bottom up, gradually. And if the youth are convinced, the young people of Lebanon are convinced that, of course, background is important, absolutely. And one should never just forget about one's background. But it would be great if it doesn't play a role in policy making, that if that is much more the interests of Lebanon and not just the interests of a certain part of Lebanon. And there, I think the role of the youth is really, really important. And I hope that young people will keep that in mind in the future.
Exactly. And I totally agree with you on this. I actually have no comment to add here. So, to all of our listeners and viewers who are interested in knowing more about the YAC, the Youth Advisory Committee, make sure to tune in to our episode that was published last week on YouTube and all streaming platforms that is specifically dedicated to the YAC. So, where we discussed all of our projects, our initiatives, what is the YAC, our mission, our vision, with a few members of the committee. So, if you're interested, please make sure to check it out.
Can I add to that I think that that's great that you did that. We find the YAC very, very important. So I would also love to encourage all your listeners to look at the YAC. And if they have any comments, if they want to tell us, let us know.
Definitely.
We're always open to suggestions.
Always. Thank you. Ambassador Mollen, I actually want to move a little bit towards your future plans as an embassy. Do you have any upcoming projects or initiatives related to DEI and youth empowerment? Anything that you can give us a glimpse into, maybe?
Look, we have quite a lot of projects ongoing at the moment. And of course, we want to continue those. We are going through, I don't know whether you're aware of this, we are going through, back home in The Hague, going through quite a severe... what's the word? No. Yeah, I'm thinking of another word. Budget cuts, indeed. But I was thinking of another reformulation, if you like, of our policies abroad with less money. That's maybe a better way of putting it. Now, that doesn't mean that our human rights priorities will suddenly disappear. Exactly. I think they'll remain the same to a certain extent. Equal rights for women and girls, equal rights for the LGBTIQ plus community, freedom of expression, those will remain target areas for us. But I'm not sure that we will have exactly the same amount of funds as before. Of course, I hope we do. I'm not sure. So that means, that's quite a long introduction to the answer to your question, which means that at the moment, we're a little bit waiting what's going to happen and haven't gotten around to formulating very many new things quite now. And of course, something that we find very important in general is that, which I think we are quite good at as well, and which is important, is that we very much rely on our local partners to help us formulate our policies and our projects. There's no point the Netherlands going around and saying, we think Lebanon needs A or B or C. No, the local partners in Lebanon have to tell us what they need. And that's what we plan to keep doing. So it depends on our local partners, which ideas come up and which ideas we think we would be able to support. But I'm just not sure at the moment how far we will be able to go with our budgets in the future. So that's a bit of a little bit less optimistic message maybe for the future. And apologies for the long answer to your question.
Ambassador, how does the embassy ensure that all of your projects that you initiate today or you initiated previously have a long-term and sustainable impact? Again, especially in a context in Lebanon where everything can change within minutes.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's always a very tricky one, of course. I think it's partly to do with the trust we have in our partners. You have to have that trust as a donor. Because partners, as I said already, are much better able to assess what works and what doesn't work in a specific context. And of course, Lebanon, like any other context, is a specific context. We will never be able to assess that in the same way that Lebanese can. So we rely very much on them. At the same time, as I also already said, look, DEI is not just a Western value, it's a universal value. So I think that to a certain extent, it's legitimate to work in those areas, and our trust in the Lebanese people and in Lebanon in general. Yes, things can change very quickly. You're absolutely right, and sometimes that's very unfortunate, and maybe efforts that we've put in together disappear again, and we have to start from scratch. But yeah, it's we have to just keep believing, keep working.
Exactly, and I'm going to say something I think we as Lebanese people are really tired of it, but it's actually true, is the fact that we are resilient. So no matter all the circumstances that happen to us, or the bad opportunities or the bad challenges that we face, no matter what, we keep going. And I think part of it is that we really do want to see a change. We really want to show the world and other people that we as Lebanese people we love life, we are here, and we want to make a change. So despite everything that's happening, yes, sometimes our projects are paused, are like completely stopped. You have to redo them again. We will redo them again, because if we believe in them, other people will believe in them as well.
Yep, absolutely true.
Actually, now I have a couple of personal questions. In your own personal opinion as a diplomat, why is DEI important to you? And why do you feel, I don't want to say the need, but why do you think everyone should prioritize DEI in their work?
Look, I think if you don't keep DEI in the wide sense of the word, even in mind, in whatever you are doing, you'll never achieve the same results as if you do. As an example, I think discrimination leads to basically waste of talent. It's unfair. I mentioned already in the beginning the Enlightenment that showed us in the 18th, 17th, and 18th century how much a society can achieve if you integrate everybody into that society. And it's those values that I still hold very strongly because, and now I'm repeating myself, I apologize, because I really believe that it makes an organization, a society, a family, a group, it always makes it stronger. And besides that, look, we were all born as human beings. No one person is better than another person, whatever he or she may be. It's just, I know that it's maybe not the same everywhere, but to me, it's just not more than logical and normal to acknowledge that. And I think that's the motivation.
Ambassador Mollen, as a representative of your country and your government, what advice would you give to young leaders and organizations that are really looking to champion DEI and youth empowerment in their own work?
I think, first of all, stay motivated. Never give up. Sometimes it can be, and I know the listeners to your podcast realize that as well, it can be very, very difficult and you might feel like giving up, but don't. Nothing goes quickly. It always takes time. Also, and I say that, I guess, as a diplomat, do things sometimes in smart ways, in roundabout ways where you don't directly confront a certain person or a certain issue or whatever, can sometimes be much more effective than the direct way, even though it might feel as though you're not really living up to your own beliefs. But sometimes that can be useful if you keep the end goal in sight. Small steps, it's a bit similar. Small steps sometimes may feel less satisfactory, but in the end can lead to much more than trying to achieve a big leap in one go. And I think practice what you preach is also very important in an organization. It's very well, and we say that to ourselves here in the embassy as well, it's very well us trying to promote certain values, but we also have to show ourselves that we are adhering to those values and that we believe in them. And when it comes to DEI, for example, our hiring procedures, how we recruit colleagues is very much based on that. The things we do, we try to pay attention to a number of events every year. For example, we had, of course, the other day, we had International Women's Day. We try to also pay attention to those events within the embassy too, and show on our social media, for example, that we're taking those things seriously. And that goes for many of these events. So all those together, and maybe also, look, I'm very impressed by what you and what your listeners do. So even in times of adversity, stick with it. And keep believing in yourself. I think that's very important, and then other people will believe in you too.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. And now to actually conclude our episode, do you have any final words to anyone who might be listening to us or viewing this video?
No, I think what I said just now were really my final words. Believe in yourself, believe in others, believe in DEI, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Thank you for your time, for your experience, and for your insights today. Personally, I found this very enriching, but I really hope that our listeners and our viewers have enjoyed it as well and got at least a small glimpse into what DI means to you as an embassy, but also as to you as an ambassador. So once again, thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Once again, I want to thank each and every single one of you for your support. We hope that you have enjoyed season 2, you have enjoyed our guests and our experts, and that you have learned something new. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll see you in season 3.